Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to our digital deep dive entitled Europe and the Quantum Leap. Are we a leader or a follower? My name is Vincenzo Renda. I'm Director for Single Market and Digital Competitiveness at Digital Europe, and I'm really delighted to moderate today's discussion as we look into one of the most talked about critical technologies, namely quantum computing. I would say the event comes at a very timely opportunity, a moment, because we are right in the aftermath of the Commissioner's confirmation hearings. And we know that there have been discussions around the role of quantum in Europe, including through the launch of a possible long-term quantum chips plan. So we'll also unpack these points along with many others in the technology. Before we dive in today's discussion, a few housekeeping points. First, the event is going to be recorded and will be made available to participants afterwards. And then second, this is an online event, so feel free to submit questions via the Zoom chat feature, and we'll do the best to address your question at the end of the panel. Okay, so I want to kick off the discussion just to provide an overview of the state of play when it comes to critical technologies. Earlier this year, and we can move to the next slide, Digital Europe asked a simple but vital question. Where does Europe truly stand when it comes to critical technologies that lie at the intersection of competitiveness and security? So we launched a study that really intends to be today a starting point for our discussions. So we focused on 8 out of 10 critical technologies in the European Economic Security Strategy. Quantum was one of those. And our finding was that essentially the EU leads globally just in 1 out of those 8 critical technologies. This is really, I would say, a stark finding from our report. Which really means that, and I'm not the first person to really bring this up, but Europe really is in a competitiveness crisis. And without action, we really risk economic irrelevance, but also security vulnerabilities. And we'll unpack what all this means from a quantum computing angle today. There is no company in Europe that, as Mario Draghi brought up in his report, is valued at more than 100 billion euro that has been created in Europe in the last 50 years. And in the meantime, instead, in the US, there have been 6 companies that were worth over 1 trillion euro in the same time. So we can move to the next slide, where you can see here the overview. We lead in connectivity. In quantum, we have a mixed picture. And today we're going to discuss how, among others, to make Europe more attractive for unicorns in the quantum industry to really scale up in Europe. So if we move to the next slide, where we look into the findings on quantum more specifically, as you can see here, I would say that the picture is provides a familiar story. World-class research, and you can see here in the chart, the EU is second per number of leading research publications. But we're still, I would say, weak on execution, on commercializing those great ideas that are advanced in Europe. So we also have a thriving startup ecosystem, but not yet a large company, big players in Europe. And I really want to have this point being addressed in today's panel. If we look also at the investment figures and we compare those to China and the US, we see how in the US companies get almost 3 times more private investment in quantum computing than those in the EU. That's a very telling finding in our report. And I think this is part of, or let's say, bridging the gap is part of the discussion of how to bridge, generally speaking, that 800 billion euro investment gap a year that Draghi highlighted in his report. And this is, I think, a crucial point when it comes to those critical technologies that we've just seen in the slides. So I want to discuss today how Europe can move forward from potential to leadership in this space. And the great thing is that we have a stellar lineup of speakers who really bring a diverse perspective and expertise to this discussion. And I really look forward to have a rich debate today. So let me just introduce the speakers. We have with us today Pascal Meillot, who is Deputy Head of Unit for High Performance Computing and Quantum Technologies at the European Commission. We have Natalia Stoliarchuk, Head of Future Computing and Microelectronics at Bitkom. We have Jaime Gomez Garcia, Head of Quantum Technologies at Santander. And we have Uni Flichtmann, who is Vice President for Defense and Security at IQM Quantum Computers. And I really encourage all the speakers to share your thoughts openly. We want to create a lively and engaging discussion today. So let's dive in. And I want to start with you, Jaime. Obviously, Santander is a well-known user of advanced technologies. And I'm interested really on your take on how Santander is already leveraging quantum technologies. And what's the most important added value that quantum brings to your company? Over to you.
Thank you, Vincenzo, and thank you very much for having me in this very interesting panel. I hope we can discuss interesting topics for the audience and for the future of Europe. So in Santander, we are addressing quantum technologies in two ways. First way is we are working with business areas in understanding how we will be able to benefit from quantum computers sometime in the future. Working with many of our very complex mathematical problems, focusing mostly as of today in combinatorial optimization problems, things like portfolio management, risk optimization, things like that. No, payment reconciliation. So that's one thing. The second thing is we are working with cybersecurity in preparing for the transition to quantum safe cryptography. Quantum computers are well known to be able to break cryptography once they reach a certain maturity level. And cryptography is everywhere in everything we do today. It's foundational to our digital economy. So in the next few years, we're going to be challenged with transitioning from the cryptography that we are using today to what is called post-quantum cryptography that is based on different mathematical problems that are believed to be to remain complex even for quantum computers. So basically, that's what we are doing. What do we gain from that? So I love one term that we discussed in a World Economic Forum meeting some time ago last year, that we called it ongoing return of investment. So the Digital Europe report addresses the importance of upskilling and reskilling professionals, talent retention, etc., and developing go-to-market applications. So we see that there is a gap between experts in quantum computing and the real problems in the banking industry. So there are quantum computing experts that are working in financial problems, but they do not understand them well. So they work in theoretical problems that are not really close to reality. And on the other end, in the banks, we do have absolute experts of those problems that understand their constraints, that understand the implications of all the regulatory compliance topics, etc. But they do not know about quantum computing. So bringing them together elevates the discussion. So they can bring both areas of knowledge to reach to a new level and make quantum applications closer to high TRLs. No? So that's one thing. On the other side, on the cybersecurity side, we basically prepare ourselves to maintain long-term security and trust in the financial system, the trust that our customers have on us, and so basically, I think that's it. I think I'll stop here.
Thanks very much, Jaime, and very interesting point outlining the value that Quantum brings to Santander. Thanks very much. Uni, IQM is a major manufacturer of quantum computers. From your perspective, why quantum technologies are important for Europe? And really tell us, why hasn't Europe produced yet a quantum unicorn, and what's really blocking us from breaking through?
Thank you. So let me start from the importance of quantum technologies for Europe. So as we know, there are applications of quantum computing in all of the industries, in the industries that use high-performance computing. So the quantum computing has the potential to disrupt all these industries and speed up significantly the solution of these problems. And not only speed up, but also save energy in many applications. And not only like economic benefit, but it's also essential for the security of Europe, because we know that there are many defense and security applications for quantum computing and other quantum technologies. And then we need to remember that we are now witnessing the early days of the quantum industry that is forming as we speak. So the quantum market is still relatively small compared to the full potential, but it is actually developing really quickly in the coming years. And the market is expected to reach over 100 billion euros by the year of 2040. And the companies, they will grow with the market in the coming years. And I would still claim that Europe and European companies are very well positioned for the quantum industry that is forming. So we have a solid scientific background in the universities, highest number of patents, and relatively good availability of talent, actually. And I say relatively, since the quantum expertise is still very scarce globally. And according to the public figures, European Union and the member states have invested in quantum technologies relatively well. And that has allowed Europe to, for example, develop state-of-the-art quantum computers in many places. One concrete example is Euro-HPC joint undertaking that funds quantum computing testbeds for 6 high-performance computing centers. And furthermore, I would claim that European companies such as IQM are competitive in terms of delivered systems and also in terms of revenue at the moment. But obviously there are challenges in Europe, and I guess the main challenge in Europe lies in building a more robust private investment ecosystem and on the other hand fostering industry deployment, similar to the US where large corporations and strategic investments drive innovation. And these challenges, they have been identified in Draghi report, as we know, and European companies really face these when scaling up. And some of these challenges also affect the quantum computing companies. And according to Draghi report, so innovative digital companies are generally failing to scale up in Europe and attract finance, especially when compared to the United States. And we know that the challenges are bigger, the bigger the valuation of the companies. And Draghi also mentions fragmentation of the single market and some regulatory barriers when scaling up as challenges for the companies. And regarding the technology adaptation, so that is relatively low in European companies in general, and that is also one of the reasons for the low productivity growth in Europe. And maybe one of the reasons for low demand for European tech solutions. And to some extent, this applies also to quantum computing, since the full power of quantum computing comes from the industrial deployment when we get the use cases in place. So I would say that this is now a decisive moment for Europe in the quantum industry, both as producers and users of the technology. And therefore, it's actually great to see quantum technology so high on the agenda of the new European Commission as well. And I think that we must set the bold vision that some of the future quantum big tech companies are European, and I'm very optimistic that we can achieve that goal.
Thanks very much, Uni, and very, very interesting points already that you brought up to this discussion. the role of financing, single market fragmentation. And I found also very interesting that you mentioned how these problems become bigger as the company tries to scale up. So it's really, I would say, a problem for particularly scale-ups in Europe. So thanks very much for elaborating on those elements. And let's turn to you, Natalia. Bitkom, a national trader organization that represents, among others, also many quantum players that are active in Germany, including indeed SMEs. And what's in your eyes, what's the top barrier that your members face when it comes to adopting quantum solutions? And does Europe truly have what it takes to lead the quantum revolution?
Yeah, thank you very much, Vincenzo. Indeed, we do have a quite broad membership in Bitkom, and earlier this year we also ran a survey among our members, among those members who see themselves as potential users or potential developers of the technology, or maybe already current developers, and ask them how do they assess, first of all, the position of Europe. Indeed, we asked about Germany, but I think we can easily also extrapolate it to the Europe situation as well. So how do they see the position in, for example, research and deployment using of quantum technology? It's very much matching to the results of your report and to the common, I think, knowledge that we usually discuss. We are good in research. We are not so good, and we are lacking behind in commercial adoption and commercialization of technology. And what are the main barriers that are seen by the companies at the moment? I think I wouldn't surprise anyone. The technology is still in a very low maturity. It has a very low maturity level, and this leads to the point that the companies in their broadly, they don't see yet the commercial value, the added value. How can they leverage the technology? And one of the reasons, I think there's still lack of use cases, and the companies are not as much involved in the development of use cases as probably needed to really understand the commercial value of it. Another point, which I think also became very obvious in the past, I would say 2 years, quantum computing is competing with other future technologies, let's say, and one of major, of course, AI, and competing in sense of resources in the companies and investments in the companies. So it's also quite understandable that businesses prefer to focus on things that probably offer value in a shorter term and not in a longer term. So maybe just to shortly sketch how this could be tackled, or like where this have to be tackled regarding the low maturity level and the lack of use cases. We do see the need, for example, to have a stronger focus on the upper level of the quantum computing, in terms of quantum computing in a high level of the stack. So software, algorithms, and so on, but also generally developing use applications also for other quantum technologies such as sensorics, and working closer with the potential user industries. And how to do this? We did develop some ideas. I think we do need a lot of exchange also with European Commission, with the local, with the member state governments on different tools and instruments, how this could be done. Yes, so and I think one of the major points, which also Uni brought it, we do need access for businesses to the quantum computing systems developed in Europe and quantum technology developed in Europe, and to promote development applications on these systems as well. So I'll stop here. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Natalia. I want to bring into this discussion now the role of policymakers. So let's turn to you, Pascal. You have already heard some of the barriers that the businesses brought up. They need to identify ROI as they introduce quantum in their operations. Let's look at the confirmation hearings where EVP Virkkunen mentioned indeed plans for a quantum strategy, which could also include a quantum chips plan. So I'm going to ask you, how will this strategy ensure that the Europe leads in the commercialization of quantum technologies?
Yeah, thank you. First, I'd like to mention that we in the Commission and for the EU, we are working on all the different pillars of quantum technologies. Jaime, Yuni, and Natalia have given already some examples. Quantum computers obviously can do exponential calculation with on some type of issues. We have communication that I may explain for the cryptography. And we have also the sensors, which is a very important market, and perhaps the ones that is closer to the market compared with the others, with high level of sensibility for detections in different fields, in the health sector also. So we consider all the pillars very important. Now, for the EU strategy, you're right, the Commissioner announced it, and she even mentioned a possible Quantum Act in the coming months. The idea is mainly on the harmonization of the quantum development in the EU, meaning between the different member states. Until now, we've had excellent national strategy in different countries, not in all of them, but I will mention quickly France, Germany, Spain is supposed to announce it quickly. Italy also is working on one, and other countries, other member states, sorry that if I forget to mention. But there is no real coherence or collaboration between the member states for this development. Oh, sorry, I forgot the Netherlands, of course. So the concept of the EU strategy, in fact, began with the Quantum Pact, that Quantum Declaration that were signed some months ago by all the member states. Ireland will sign soon. To have an harmonized development and to avoid competitions between the member states. For instance, member states not developing the same technology. This work has already begun, will go on now. And that's the main point of the Quantum Declaration. As you can imagine, it will take months. And in fact, we are targeting a kind of agreement on a document in April or May next year. Above these consideration, these Quantum Declaration, Vincenzo, I will not be able to get into the details of what the Commissioner has announced, because simply for the reason that she has announced it some days ago, and now she will see where how she can lead on this, and which typical actions she would like to promote. We have already some ideas, as you can imagine, but as long as it's not confirmed by the Commissioner, I wouldn't like to give inputs that might be wrong in the future. But for the specific topic of today, you can be sure that the financing of our startups, the scale up, that is certainly not good enough, is one of the point. And the strategy is not only about research or only about scaling up. It's the whole development of the whole ecosystem. Scaling up being one of them, Juni has explained the fragmentations of the markets. Mr. Draghi and Mr. Letta has explained it several times also. So this is linked not only for quantum, but it's linked. It's also an issue for quantum. So now it will be a cross collaboration inside the Commission to try to defragment these capital market and to support efficiently our startups. We are very strong in Europe. We have a lot of startups in quantum, but unfortunately, the private funding is in the US. This we can't hide it.
Thank you, Pascal, for bringing up these points. Let's turn to Jaime. And by the way, this is also an opportunity to remind you that you can post your questions in the chat feature, and we'll address those later. Jaime, I think our critical tech report, you have also mentioned it before, has this idea of public-private partnerships as a sort of underlying theme across all those technologies that we have addressed in the report. We believe that these are game changers when it comes to scaling up these technologies, including quantum. How can public-private partnerships, help to accelerate the application when it comes to use cases, for example? And then do you even see synergies with other technologies, for example, AI that was mentioned earlier?
Thank you, Vincenzo. I think I kind of touched a little bit on this earlier, and Natalia and Pascal have mentioned. For instance, Natalia has clearly talked about the lack of use cases as a current issue, and the need for development of applications, which was also the point that I was raising. And as in any technology that is in a pre-commercial state, I think collaboration is really important. It's crucial for the development of the ecosystem. So this is where public-private partnerships can help. So organizations like commercial organizations working with research centers, working with academia, in understanding what can be given, so that researchers understand better the use cases, that the organizations learn about the technology, and they together develop the application. So while today quantum computers are immature, but at some point in time they will be mature. And think about, for instance, Microsoft. Did Microsoft need to create a computer? So Microsoft built on top of the applications, no? that were run on somebody else's computers. So there is a lot of value added in the applications. In the end, you're going to use a computer for an application. So developing all those applications comes from collaboration between different institutions. I see a link here with AI. So it's like AI was greatly ignored until November 2022, when ChatGPT came out and everybody saw what AI was able to provide. No, so when we actually saw the real application, so it seems like investment comes in with strength when the application can be seen and can be experienced, but not before. Maybe it is before when you need to prepare, and so I think that this is what some organizations are not seeing, no? The opportunities that come in from upskilling your teams and learning about the opportunities of quantum computing. On the cybersecurity side, on the other end, while the applications of quantum computing in the future might be competitive, cybersecurity is not going to be competitive at all. It is all about collaboration. So the transition to quantum safe cryptography is something that needs to be done together by everybody. So if any important stakeholder does not transition, it's gonna delay everybody's transition into quantum safe cryptography. So here it is very important that policymakers, regulators, cybersecurity agencies, companies collaborate to define a common roadmap to transition to quantum safe cryptography, clear deadlines, so that nobody procrastinates in the much needed effort to transition to quantum safe cryptography. Here there is another help that we can have. Pascal mentioned it, which is quantum communications, which one part of quantum communications is quantum cryptography, quantum key distribution, which can be this is an area where Europe excels, and it can be a last resort security to provide crypto agility in defense of post-quantum cryptography in the long term.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Jaime, for also outlining the strengths which Europe has today. Juni, I'm going to ask you also the same question about public-private partnerships, and also building on what Pascal said about, he hinted at some of the focus areas for the quantum strategy, the need to harmonize and provide a joint approach across all the different member states when it comes to quantum. Maybe I'm going to ask you also if you can pinpoint any good national best practice that you have seen across Europe that can also be, source of inspiration for the EU level strategy.
Okay, thank you. So first about these public-private partnerships, and let's keep the end in mind there. So we want to, on one hand, to develop the quantum technology itself and make it more mature. And then on the other hand, we want to make the end users ready for adopting quantum computing use cases. And public-private partnerships indeed can help to achieve these goals. Especially now when the quantum computing market is very early, the public sector has a crucial role in making the technology available for the end user community. And what is needed to scale up the technology is bigger and better quantum computers that are produced by the companies at the moment. And scaling the quantum computers and quantum processors to higher qubit counts and higher fidelities, better quality, that requires significant investment in quantum chip fabrication facilities. And then the production capacity for advanced quantum chips that needs to meet also the future volume demands when the quantum advantage arrives. So ultimately, Europe needs to have large commercial quantum chip fabs as well. And of course, in these investments, collaboration between the private and public actors is essential so that Europe gets these fabs. The risks are high and the investments are big, so these partnerships are needed. And it is also important to note that the fabs will be part of critical infrastructure in the future. And moreover, the ownership of the infrastructure, such as these fabs and also quantum data centers, that is crucial since the owners of the infra set the rules how the technology is used, as we have seen in many other technologies. And I would say that the European quantum strategy and the quantum chips plan, especially, they are crucial instruments to plan also the PPPs in this field. And one aspect also I would like to highlight is the connection to defense and security. So when ramping up the European defense industry, also the quantum tech needs to be taken into account there, so that we have sovereign capacities also for defense and security of Europe. And then, of course, finally, the synergies between quantum computing, high-performance computing, and AI are indeed crucial in the future. And for example, this AI Factories, that is a great initiative to support the development of AI models for European companies. And naturally, quantum test beds in these AI factories would enhance exploring the synergies between AI and quantum computing and speed up the adoption of quantum computing on the medium term. And then about the best practices. So I know best the Finnish case. So here Finland has invested in quantum computers. The current project is just ending this year, and new project will start next year. And the idea really is to procure a Finnish quantum computer and for VTT, and then VTT opens that to the end user community. And other action by Finnish government is to invest in the quantum fabrication capacities. So that kind of initiatives we would like to, of course, see on the European level as well.
Thank you, Jouni, for sharing your experiences also with the Finnish strategy. Let's move to you, Natalia. Again, I'm going to ask you. We spoke a lot about use cases and the need to identify those. What do you think is essential there? And then also, I'm going to ask you if there is any good practice in Germany that you would like to share with Pascal as the Commission looks at drafting the new quantum strategy.
Actually, I have like 3 points that I also would like to touch up from the previous speakers. Maybe I start also with the use case example, or how can we
absolutely feel free,
like push a little bit there. As I mentioned earlier, I think there is still like a big lack of awareness, and what like companies like Santander and what Jaime is doing is I would say still a little bit of an exception to have companies focusing on both, first of all, on cybersecurity aspect of quantum computing and on the potential business applications. So I think this generally, the cybersecurity side, so the risks imposed, potential risks of quantum computing can be leveraged a little bit more to increase this awareness also for, like, let's say, the good side. So maybe this, like we saw last week, I think there was this publication of different European security agencies to bring more to the awareness of the companies that it comes, and maybe it comes sooner than you might think, and that also together with the preparedness for together with introducing crypto agility and together with the migration to the quantum post-quantum security, that you can also explore how can you benefit from it. So I think that could be a good approach. We also notice it in our membership increasingly be the case. The second point, I would also like to say we very much welcome the harmonization on the European level. I'm really happy to hear, Pascal, that you're also thinking to continue developing the Quantum Pact from the last year. That's very much welcome and very much needed. We see on the also member states level, unfortunately, things are not always harmonized, and we see still a lot of competition even on the regional level within one member state. So our ideal view would be that we try to avoid this and really try to focus on each of the strengths of each region within member states, within European Union, and try to leverage on that. And I think when we speak about harmonization, I think one of the topics that haven't been touched upon yet, but has been very much present in discussions lately within the community, is the export regulations. So we definitely need also some kind of common rules there. And we have seen that there have been tendencies to develop a bit different rules for different member states. So we would like to see this not being the case within the European Union, and to have certain harmonizations on this level too. And now speaking about private-public partnerships, I think that the case was already discussed by Jouni and Jaime and Pascal. You also mentioned it, EuroHPC here, and I think the good thing about EuroHPC that it's been there for a while. There is some experience made with the let's say classical HPC applications. Now AI factories has been established. I think the important thing is that we learn from this experience, and we try to review what went well, what probably didn't went well. I think the uptake from the business side on the EuroHPC infrastructures was probably lower than it was anticipated. And I think it's important when we move on to these quantum computing centers and EuroHPC, these 6 centers across Europe that you mentioned. I think it's really important to analyze why the uptake was not as high as it could have been, and what are the barriers that companies see there. We also see across the Europe there are different models how these EuroHPC centers can be used. For example, I think there's a case in Luxembourg where you can where the companies can more easily purchase the computing time. In other countries, you have to make the full application to participate in the development, and there are also different kind of formats how you do it, whether you do just a pure business case or you participate in an R&D project where you have to put all your results open. So we also see this being a barrier for companies to engage more in that. So just my appeal would be here. I think we need to review how it went for EuroHPC since I think it was 2020 or 21. How was the uptake in industry, and what were the barriers, and how can we improve it for the HPC and QC centers? Yeah, and maybe the last point you mentioned about best practices. I think generally there is a lot going on in Europe, where we can learn from each other. In Germany, there are basically 2 main approaches how to support or how they approach the development of quantum computing systems, either through the direct research funding or through procurement. And I think an exchange on European level on how and which approaches work better is also very much needed. Yeah.
Thank you, Natalia. A lot of interesting points that you brought up to the table. Pascal, we've touched upon EuroHPC. I'll leave you also the chance to elaborate on the barriers that Natalia brought up. If you can also expand on those. And then I generally want to ask you, we have a public funding. We have also the role of harmonization of capital markets, getting that venture capital that is critical for these companies to scale up. We have the role of talent development and also other enablers here. And I'm going to ask you, how can we make sure that all of this is aligned in the next Commission mandate? And what do you think will be very, very important for the success of a quantum strategy that looks at alignment of the different national strategies in Europe?
Yeah, Vincenzo, in fact, Natalia said that she was happy to hear that the Quantum Pact was still going on. In fact, it has to go on because the Quantum Declaration that the member states signed some months ago, the mandate of the Quantum Declaration is to work together to develop an harmonized ecosystem of quantum technologies. This cannot be done in 2 or 3 weeks. And that's why I mentioned, and then we have regular meetings with the member states. In fact, we have every week these meetings, and we are expecting a document by April, May next year, which will certainly not be the definitive document and to be improved with time. For what I believe is that this harmonization is the core of the strategy, Vincenzo. So these will touch all the different pillars of this collaboration. It means basic science. It means funding, how we scale up the funding. We often hear that we have savings in Europe. this is not an issue of our private savings, but we have to target these private savings to the development of the new technologies. Export control was mentioned. Yes, that is also an important point, and that's also a point of discussion. Even if for export control, it's some specific ministries in each member state, so it's not so easy, but that's also the goal of the different representatives of the member states, to have a clear and harmonized export control notification. If not, what will happen? Some non-EU will go from through a specific country to get some devices or whatever, because it will not the member state will not have put in place the same restriction. So we need to have this. You know that very recently the United States put export controls on a quantum computer with a certain number of qubits. I don't remember, 24 or 30, if I'm not wrong. And different member states followed the same restriction, and little by little the other ones will put it in place also. So we have this on savings. We have also on export controls. And in the domain of research, we believe that one idea, but this I can't tell more because it has to be, of course, validated, that some regions or some member states which are very strong or stronger in a specific domain could give an easy access to the others to work on, I don't know, ion-trapped quantum computer or on QKD for quantum communication, without asking the member states to develop its own research on this field, and more to connect to one which is strong in the domain, so that we are not developing the same thing a bit everywhere. So that's the main. I have not mentioned all the pillars. We have also international collaboration, where we would like to get some kind of common line on collaboration with non-EU member states. This also is not an easy subject, because the international collaboration is a national prerogative. However, we hope that we can get a common agreement on the way we collaborate with the others. You have noticed, I am sure that we are living now in a geopolitical context where things change every 2 months. So we must at least talk to each other to see which kind of line to take we should follow. So that's the umbrella, if I can call it like that, that we are working on with the different member states for the EU strategy. So I explained here what is the concept, what is the theory, the concrete actions themselves. I will not develop them today, not because I don't have any ideas. This is not true. But without the validation of my new commissioner, it's I cannot do it without the validation of the commissioner.
Thank you, Pascal, for your points. I think you mentioned what I think is a very valid factor here, which is international collaboration. And maybe following up on that, I'm going to ask you, Jaime, you mentioned before, when it comes to the security side of things and the migration to post-quantum cryptography, the importance of cooperating with the public sector. What about the international collaboration here with like-minded partners? Does it play a role? And maybe can you share any interesting initiatives that are done in this area?
Yeah, thank you very much. Absolutely. As I said before, the transition to quantum safe cryptography is going to be a very challenging effort. I have to say that it seems like 2025 is the year when most organizations are going to launch it, but I still see a lot of retention in many. Probably there's a lack of understanding on how deep cryptography is entangled with everything we do in our digital society. And also there is a lack of awareness on how lengthy the transition of cryptography is going to be, because it's so far it's taken decades transitioning one single cryptographic algorithm. So for instance, as an example of collaboration, I'm proud to chair the Europol Quantum Safe Financial Forum, where I think we are today in the order of 40 financial institutions collaborate to create a common roadmap and share tools and experiences on how to do this transition. The main issue with this is that cryptography has been typically undermanaged so far. We've trusted cryptography so much for such a long time that it was kind of left behind as a complex topic in IT management. But now we need to change that. So basically the transition to quantum safe cryptography has nothing to do with quantum. It basically has to do with improved cryptography management. Manage cryptography with the same maturity level that we are managing other topics like vulnerabilities, compliance, etc. And the availability of a quantum computer is only marking a deadline. Obviously, quantum solutions are there also to help as quantum communications. And quantum communications also is quantum key distribution is also a pre-stage of the future quantum internet that will enable the communication of distant quantum computers, enabling the quantum internet in the far future. But well, yes, my advice here to anybody in the audience is get your organization informed about how important cryptography is, about how challenging transition cryptography has been so far and in any sector, and prepare a cryptography center of excellence team and engage them, resource them to prepare the transition, because this is going to be a multi-year project that will need to be finished probably in the early 30s, and despite the early 30s looks like a far away target, considering the challenge, it is not going to be that far. I'll finish with, the other day somebody asked me, why do you think this is going to be 8 years or more? And because in 8 years we can build a city. And I said, well, and I asked a friend, Michael Osborne from IBM, and he told me, yeah, but this is like replacing all the steels in all the buildings in a city without taking the people out of the city and without taking them off the buildings, and having the city continue working 24/7. So it is not easy.
Yeah, thanks very much also for sharing the metaphor. That's helpful. Let's turn to questions from the audience, and there is one which I think is a basic question, but also important to qualify the technologies we've discussed. Is still an emerging technology, that of quantum. Can you please name 2 or 3 examples of how quantum computing can benefit citizens? Who would like to take this up? Maybe looking at industry, Uni?
Yes, happy to take this. So two examples. One is better medicine, because molecular simulations in pharmaceuticals, they are one of the use cases. So the pharmaceutical companies can develop better medicine and more quickly for the citizens. And then other use cases, optimizing the batteries, for example, for electric cars. So then the citizens can have longer ranges in the electric cars.
Thank you. Who wants is there any other example that you would like to share? Jaime or Natalia?
I can put one from the financial industry. So,
Yeah.
so in some very complex processes that we have in the banking industry, for instance, let's say fraud detection or portfolio management. So we're going to be able to manage portfolios with better accuracy, and possibly also reducing costs in market transactions and fraud detection. So those topics I think are beneficial not only for the banks but also for society in general. And I would like to not to talk only about quantum computing. So there are three quantum technologies: quantum computing, quantum communications, and quantum sensing that Pascal mentioned a while ago, and it has it is the most mature. So, for instance, magnetic resonance imaging is gonna probably change a lot in the near future, thanks to quantum sensing. So, if you imagine what a magnetic resonance is today, a huge device making lots of noise, very expensive, and probably in the future is going to be possibly something handheld that can be done in much more easily than today.
Thank you, Jaime.
Yes.
Yes,
Can I also add?
of course.
Yes. In fact, quantum computer is also a benefit for the green transition. As you know, for Europe, and not only Europe, it's a planet issue. On two ways. It will allow the parallel processing of huge amounts of data. The quantum computers will not be able to do exactly the same things like a high-performance computer, a classical computer. They will be better on some specific problems, and the processing of large set of data in parallel. And these can help for instance, for discovery of new material that will have a low resistance. And this is important for the green transition to avoid losing heat when electrons are transported. We have, with this huge set of data, we will have possibilities also of personalized medicine, where doctors will be able to see which kind of specific treatment can be interesting for a person, and not giving how can I say that, a generic one to all the patients. And the quantum computer will participate also to the green transition by its own consumption. Because we estimate that it will consume some kilowatts compared to the megawatts that an high-performance computer need. You have all heard about Microsoft, or I think even Google or Amazon, I don't remember, thinking about building their own nuclear plant for the needs of their high-performance computer with artificial intelligence processing. So quantum computer will get less. And I would like to, and this is one of several examples that I could mention, and I would like to come back quickly on what Uni was talking about on batteries for a quantum computer. And these can be mixed with quantum sensors. I've seen, for instance, Toyota working in Netherlands with some specific quantum sensors that they put in the battery of the car to see at a very precise level what is going on, how it gets hot, where how the electrons are going in the battery, etc., etc. And these, with an analysis of a quantum computer after, you can see that it will be excellent for the development of batteries, which, by the way, in Europe, we can't say that we are very strong in batteries for cars. That's the minimum I could say. So that would be great if we could also scale up with the help of quantum technologies. And to finish, I would even conclude that, to your question, Vincenzo, I think no one around this table and in Europe can precisely say what quantum computer will do exactly, and we will have some surprises of what a quantum computer can do that no one had never thought about. You remember the beginning of the smartphone, or Bill Gates saying that a quantum computer will never have more than some kilobytes of memory, and what happened later. So I think we will have very nice surprises with quantum computer.
Thank you, Pascal. We're getting quite a few questions from the audience. Another one which I would like to bring to you is about the role of connectivity networks for the development of quantum cryptography. Who would like to take this up? Maybe you, Jaime, since you brought this up. Well, you mentioned post-quantum cryptography earlier.
Yeah. So I think the impact on the network is not gonna be really important. So post-quantum cryptography in some cases requires more performance metrics from devices. So it might be more challenging in small resource devices like IoT, etc. But from a network perspective, some parts of the new communications using post-quantum cryptography are going to require more data to be sent. But the increase in the amount of data is not going to be important with regards to bandwidth. It might have some impact on the latency to start new communications, but discussions are going on to try to update the communications protocols to minimize those latency effects. But with regards to the network is, but I see. I was talking about post-quantum cryptography to enhance the development of quantum cryptography. So if it is about quantum cryptography, this is an area with on strong research nowadays. So basically we need good fiber networks. Also with regards to QKD, maybe even satellite projects, because there is an important limits in distance that can be achieved over fiber. So it's in the order of 100 kilometers using very specific fibers, and in experimental setups few hundreds, but difficult to reach long distances. Quantum memories, which are still not available. So there is still a lot of research on quantum cryptography, but basically high quality fiber networks, and maybe satellite based communication systems, quantum communication systems.
Thank you, Jaime. I'm going to bring one which addresses the whole issue of international cooperation. And essentially, if you can pinpoint any particular area where global cooperation would be particularly valuable to advance this technology. Let's kick off with you, Natalia, if you want to share a few views on that.
Yeah, I think a lot has been mentioned already where it can be particularly beneficial. I think definitely the regulation side. So the exports has been mentioned there, just to make sure that we are aligned and maybe not always the followers from what comes to from the partners like US, and that we are aligned in what we also need and how we view things in the EU. That's maybe one thing. The use cases has been set enough, and maybe also to underline the importance of establishing new manufacturing capacities. Uni mentioned this already, to see how the value chain looks like for quantum sensors, quantum computing. Where do we have strengths in Europe, where we rather collaborate with other countries? So kind of to follow the same logic that was established in the semiconductor supply chain, but maybe be a bit more proactive on it and not repeat the mistakes of the semiconductor value chain. When you only post factum, you see that there are probably some areas that are not so strong in Europe or been under overseen. Yeah, I think that's the one thing, and maybe the thing which haven't been mentioned at all so far, except for you, Vincenzo, I think in the beginning, the skills, the exchange, like we definitely need some exchange and best practices in this area. What do we need to grow the future quantum workforce? How do we change our education programs now? What are the competences we need to develop? There's definitely a lot of going on in US. There is definitely some good practices also from the companies establishing, like IQM. They also have IQM Academy, trying to implement, trying to educate people how to use it, and to teach this new paradigms. So that's a definitely area where there's a lot more cooperation needed and a lot more exchange. So that would be my 4 points.
Thanks very much, Natalia. Anyone else would like to add on to what she outlined? I see it was quite a comprehensive answer, so thanks for that. I would now like to wrap up with a question which was also submitted on the chat feature, and I found quite nice. So if you can basically say with one word what Europe needs to lead in quantum, what would you say? And let's kick off with you, Uni.
Okay,
one word. I know it's difficult, but
yeah, this is really tough. But I would anyway say that after thinking this for quite a while, that scaling up.
It's a good one. Jaime?
With regards to quantum computing, I would say talent, following up on what Natalia said, and something that the report is also mentioning. It is not only about developing talent, it is about attracting it, and most importantly, retaining it. So I think we have an issue that we are creating great talent that is going abroad, and there are several reasons for that. So for quantum computing, taking care of talent. With regards to cryptography, clarity. We need clear deadlines, timelines, and directions to create strategic plans to transition to quantum safe cryptography.
Thank you. Pascal?
You're mute.
You're on mute. Yes, now we can hear you.
I will also use the word scale up, the word harmonization inside the EU, and to make a comment on skills, because I've not mentioned skills a lot, which is very important, and to add a point on what Natalia said, I would like now that we have excellent researchers. Of course, we have to keep them, and they should keep on working on that. But now it's the development of quantum engineers that we need for our companies, besides the researchers.
Thank you. Natalia.
Yeah, I had a chance to think about it. I think what I would say, I agree, first of all, with scale up and clarity. I think that was also a very nice one. And I would underline that it probably not only applies to cryptography transition, but also clarity about European strategy. But my word would be interdisciplinarity. I think we need a lot more cooperation between business experts and tech experts, and especially researchers in quantum. It was mentioned in the beginning from Jaime, but I would like to also underline it a little bit more. It's definitely still a lot of gaps to fill between people's competences, and not even, sorry, it's more than one word, but it's not even between, for example, banking experts and quantum computing experts. It's between IT experts, it's between physicists, it's between mathematicians. Like sometimes you can't find a common language between mathematicians and physicists. So there is a lot of interdisciplinarity needed in the development of the technology.
Thank you, Natalia. We have now to wrap up this discussion. A few things that have emerged clearly, in my view, are certainly around this need to bridge the gap between research and commercialization in Europe. This is really the next big challenge when it comes to scaling up quantum. The role of public funding was mentioned to really lay a foundation, but we definitely also need the private investments. And then this also ties into the whole discussion around harmonizing the various national strategies, how to grow the talent pipeline, but also retain the talents that are here in Europe, how to foster cooperation at research level, but crucially also beyond, really when it comes to the business expertise that we need. I think if we look at the business qualification of quantum, many interesting areas were mentioned. Medicines was one, the green transition another, financial services, a number of very interesting applications that were mentioned. And this is really an opportunity for regaining Europe's competitiveness at a time where really this world has become, has been topping the EU agenda. But it's also a necessity, and we've discussed also the role of cryptography in this space. I would say also in this discussion, I'm very happy to see that the panelists are very much aligned with the findings in our Digital Europe report, with this underlying theme of public-private partnerships that will be critical in finding the use cases. It was also mentioned in today's discussion, the need to keep identifying those. And when it comes to the specific areas, we have infrastructure, but also software was also clearly mentioned. So this is really an opportunity for Europe to act in this space. Certainly as Digital Europe, we very much look forward to engaging with all the stakeholders and the policy community to shape this upcoming quantum initiative at EU level. And I would really like to thank all our speakers for their insights, and to the audience for the various questions that were submitted today. And I would just wrap up with saying that as Digital Europe, we are very proud to bring together all those various voices and ideas. I think you have heard quite a few today to really shape Quantum's future. So with that, have a great day. Again, thanks a lot for speakers and the audience joining, and we look forward to seeing you at future Digital Europe's event. Thank you.